Good afternoon and welcome to AWS Telecom Session TLC 304 at reInvent 2021. Over the next hour, we will share with you how AWS is reinventing communications with leading service providers around the world and delivering new cutting-edge solutions and experiences to consumers and enterprises through the use of multi-access edge computing. We have some exciting customer stories to share and the stories of our customer's customer of how they are driving innovation at the edge with AWS and improving customers' experience along the way. My name is Geeta Chaudhary, and I'm the Director of Professional Services for the Global Telecom Industry Business Unit at Amazon Web Services. With me is Robin Harvani, Head of Telecom Industry Solutions at AWS.
Thank you, Geeta. Yes, what an exciting year. It's the 10th reInvent for Amazon Web Services and 5th one where I've had the pleasure to represent our team. My name is Robin Harvani. I lead the technology teams within the go-to-market organization in Telecommunications IBU.
So, what are our customers telling us? Our customers are telling us that they're looking for new ways to accelerate their revenue streams through innovative 5G services and deliver growth in a highly competitive market. They're looking at focusing on reduction in operations expenses by shedding unnecessary capital expenses and accelerating next generation investments, which has become a priority. This requires them to rationalize data center assets, improve network performance, and securely migrate to the cloud while simplifying their operations. Service providers are also looking to deliver a superior customer service with the support of a complex ecosystem of enterprises and consumers who have very high expectations for connectivity and services that they provide. Network outages can be extremely costly to a CSP, and minimizing them is key to their success. Service providers are looking to expand their enterprise partners. The move to a 5G-ready business demands a significant change for CSPs, and they must move from being consumer-facing hardware businesses to enterprise-facing technology software businesses. The next generation of services delivered across 5G will be increasingly specialized and localized. To capitalize on this opportunity, CSPs must become technology partners to enterprise, developing leading B2B technology capabilities and helping enterprises make transformative leaps. Before we dive into the benefits of Edge, let me begin with an overview of how AWS is supporting telecom operators in their digital transformation and strategic focus areas as the telecom industry goes through what analysts are calling the biggest technology shift in 100 years. I'm passionate and excited about the opportunity in front of us. In line with telecom operators' strategic focus areas, we're working with them on first, helping them cloudify their networks and transform how 4G and 5G public networks are built and operated. We're doing this through accelerating the delivery of secure, scalable, software-defined networks at a much lower cost and increased elasticity. We're working with an amazing ecosystem of thousands of ISVs, system integrators, network equipment providers, developers, and we have over 400,000 certified developers without whom this network transformation would not be possible. Secondly, service providers are seeking to simplify their operations by transforming their IT infrastructure and increasing automation across their business processes. We're working with telcos to help them take out complexity from enterprise IT, operations and business support systems, and move their billing solutions to the cloud. Thirdly, telco operators are looking to reimagine customer experience by unlocking the power of data. AWS is supporting them by infusing their operations with AI and machine learning and using data to predict and personalize outcomes for the benefit of their end customers. So, for example, we've been working with telco operators in implementing advanced technologies in network transformation use cases around proactively predicting network outages, modeling network routing, developing algorithms for intelligent network scaling, and optimizing network performance. We're also helping operators use data analytics and AI to better understand customer information and usage for behavioral patterns, so that they can recommend services and added functionality to their end customers. We all know that unlocking top-line growth and innovation our major priorities to drive return on investment against the significant capex investments required for developing and deploying 5G networks. We're working with telcos to help them accelerate business value and new growth potential through innovation factory advisory services, business to business enablement, and go to market programs, and most importantly, through enabling monetization of 5G private networks and edge solutions and use cases with AWS. To help our telco operators achieve their business outcomes, AWS is working with them globally to help them transform their businesses with 5G and edge services. First, let's start by defining what does multi-access edge computing mean and what is the value it can drive to operators with new services for their end customers. AWS has the largest infrastructure footprint of any provider, and this footprint is constantly increasing. With AWS Edge services, we securely extend the infrastructure, the services, APIs, and tools with the same developer experience to the edge, as close to the endpoint as required by your workloads. And we can do this in metro areas, on on-premise locations, 5G networks, or local devices. AWS uses the same programming model for the cloud as it does for on-premise infrastructure and for local devices. And what does that mean? Customers can build an application once and have the flexibility to deploy these to various locations with consistent performance and centralized management and governance. This also significantly shortens the development lifecycle, reduces the development costs, and increases their agility and scalability. With a multitude of edge solutions that AWS enables, we are helping telcos launch high-performance applications and new use cases at the edge that require ultra-low latencies, intelligent real-time responsiveness, and high-speed connections to end-user devices, such as real-time gaming, interactive live video streaming, augmented and virtual reality, connected cars, autonomous vehicles, robotic manufacturing, and also helping them manage resources for healthier crops, healthier lives, and energy savings. Another benefit we bring to the partnership with telcos is our developer ecosystem. In fact, AWS Partner Network includes thousands of ISVs who are built or integrated with the AWS cloud. Besides having the most extensive and broad portfolio for Edge, our focus is to simplify the implementation and operations for the network. In a legacy world, an operator needed to order the equipment, which can in some cases be a long procurement cycle and a budget cycle. They then need to manually provision, configure, install onboard devices and applications, and then locally manage the whole stack. With AWS, we take all that complexity away through zero-touch deployment for these networks. We have fully automated CI/CD pipelines from initiation of the workload, testing and deployment of all network functions, and we also provide a single pane observability for a unified view of the operations health, allowing for identification, fault isolation, root cause analysis, and triage for any network issues in minutes. I will now turn to my colleague Robin Harvani to take us through AWS Edge Solutions portfolio and the various architectural considerations.
The very first thing we need to do is understand the different edge services from AWS so that we can use the right tool for the right job. Our customers drive 90+% of our roadmap. We continuously listen to our customers and create services on their behalf so they can use these services and create differentiated experiences. We went ahead in 2016 and created a service called Greengrass because our customers like Rio Tinto and Maersk wanted to extend AWS IoT to the edge of the network. They wanted to process traffic closer to the devices to create new experiences within mining as well as in marine use cases. Then the subsequent year in 2017, our customers talked to us about how they could extend AWS network to the edge with network functions that were virtualized. And we worked with our customers to create Outpost. Outpost extends AWS cloud to the edge of the network. Then this service allows us on the same software delivery pipeline to virtualize networks, create applications that can serve low latency experiences. And then we continued our innovation. customers that asked for ruggedized environments where they wanted completely disconnected networks. Think about submarines, think about maritime use cases, cruise ships. We created services like Snowball Edge and Snowcone, completely ruggedized, disconnected edge platforms that our customers have been using for years. The next year in 2019, our customers asked us for using a fully bootstrapped environment where they could deploy applications on a 5G networks without having to deploy anything in their environments from an infrastructure point of view. And we launched AWS Wavelength Zones, which are with Verizon, SKT, Vodafone, and KDDI. Here, you deploy no infrastructure, but simply leveraging the connectivity from the operators, you can deploy applications and leverage the networks that operators have built to deliver low latency, sub 10 millisecond experiences to your customers. And finally, there are multiple services within the industrial domain, whether it is Monitron, RoboMaker, that allow our customers to deploy new experiences, whether in the robotic space, industrial space, to manage high throughput, low latency networks as they wish at a single digit latency based on their requirements. Now that we've spoken about what these services are at the edge that we have been building and iterating on based on your feedback, let's dive into how do you use these services and what are the tools that you need to use at for what type of problems. Of course, AWS Cloud is built up of multiple regions. Each region is built up of multiple availability zones, and each availability zone is 2 or more data centers that we run and operate. Then, based on the use case that you are solving for, you need to select the right edge service for the job. Let me start with AWS Outposts. If you are running an application that you want to deploy at the edge with a low latency experience, whether it is a network function or an edge application required to be run out of a data center environment and in a private network, you can use AWS Outposts to deploy a fully functional extension of the AWS platform at the edge. Now, if you are doing the same thing in a disconnected from the cloud mode, in a ruggedized environment outside of a data center, and I mean completely uncontrolled temperatures, on marine ships, submarines, outdoor environments, you will need something called a Snowball Edge or a Snowcone. Then, if you are in a situation where you are working to create fully bootstrapped 5G experiences within a CSP networks without having to deploy any compute network or storage, or even deploying AWS Outposts, you can use the AWS Wavelength Zones. Here, in the same VPC, you can deploy applications on a wavelength zone and integrate them into the Verizon, Vodafone, KDDI, and SKT private network, public networks. Local zones are another selection for our customer to leverage the metro edge. If you are a customer that is integrated into the fiber network or have a Wi-Fi network and are not yet using 5G and you want to integrate into a edge platform, local zones are the simplest and easiest way for you to leverage at the metro edge the sub 10 millisecond latency applications deployment. And if you are an industrial customer trying to extend the IoT, your digital twins, manage sensor networks, as well as manage your fleet of robots, you are going to use things like AWS Greengrass or RoboMaker. And finally, of course, for machine control use cases, we have services like FreeRTOS that allow you to do closed loop machine control for conveyor belts, robots, and many, many other industrial equipment. Now that we understand what the AWS Edge services are available for our customers and when to use which tool, let's jump into how would you go about building a CSP network using the AWS services. Of course, when you start with building an AWS, leveraging an AWS platform for building a CSP network, you're going to start with OSS and BSS applications that allow you to interact with your customers, whether it is a consumer or a business customer. These are all services that can support 80 plus millisecond latencies, my majority of them. And if that is the case, you're very well positioned to leverage AWS regions and availability zones to deploy these platforms. You can use the same regions to deploy the control plane of the core network, whether it is a 4G, 5G NSA or 5G SA network. You can deploy the control plane right there. In addition to that, you can train your machine learning models. You can build up LNS servers. You can build up the data management platforms right in the region. You also have a choice to use within your data center environment here the AWS Outpost platform that extends the same AWS cloud into your data center network. Now, as you extend this platform and go into the edge, where you are looking at complex user plane functions like UPF for 5G or SP gateways that are needed to be deployed for high throughput, low latency experiences, you can leverage AWS Outposts without having to change anything in your environment. On the same software delivery pipeline, you will be deploying these user plane functions seamlessly. Then you can extend this platform all the way with the 2U and 1U outposts that we have launched this year onto the radio edge, where you can deploy the CU and DU platforms on these on the far edge of the network. That allows you to build an entire 5G network for an operator using the same software delivery pipeline all the way from your OSS BSS systems to the core network and going into the RAN and the radio network. You can completely transform the way you manage and integrate a network leveraging this reference architecture. With services like EKS Anywhere, you can leverage your existing infrastructure and extend the Kubernetes, managed Kubernetes service on your on-prem infrastructure as well. Now let's look at a hybrid private network architecture. Just like we talked about in the CSP national network domain, you can use the same integrated pipeline to deploy your core, your virtualized RAN using the AWS regions and the cloud. But in addition to that, you can use this the edge services that we have to deploy various experiences. And we'll walk you through many of these experiences that we're building with our customers and our partners. In this architecture, one other thing that you will note here is integration from a neutral host perspective. When a customer is trying to deploy a private network and requires a CSP integration for CSP subscribers to roam into the private network, or their subscribers to roam out of the private network onto a CSP network, there's multiple architectures that we have worked on. We have worked with our customers on eSIM integration. We have worked with our customers on IPX-based roaming. Partners like Cineverse have worked closely with us to launch reference architectures for that. And in addition to that, we're also working with our partners to work on MOCN-based solutions for them to use the same radio network that they can integrate into multiple core networks. This has changed how private networks are being built, indoor networks being the starting point for transforming 5G. This architecture has allowed us to create very different value propositions for our end customers and serve them differently.
One of the interesting case studies I wanted to talk about is around delivering smart airports with Boingo Wireless. Boingo Wireless is one of industry's leading distributed antenna system, Wi-Fi and private network provider, and they were looking to continuously fuel innovation for their enterprise customers. AWS's edge and cloud services are integrated with Boingo's converged network offering and can be implemented for venue customers and other customers. In Chicago O'Hare International Airport, Boingo leveraged AWS to launch a new private network over Citizens Broadband radio service spectrum. The private cellular solution securely connects IoT devices and powers essential airport services. Prioritizing their touchless experience, Chicago O'Hare activated a virtual customer service center at its Traveler Aid station that required a dedicated wireless network to facilitate communications between on-site passengers and remote support staff via a live video kiosk. Because Boingo manages the converged DAS and Wi-Fi network at ORD, the company had the flexibility to quickly design and deploy a cloud-based private network on AWS for the kiosk in just days, supplying necessary bandwidth and speed for reliable, high-quality video calls. The key benefit that Boingo private network on AWS delivered for Chicago O'Hare was great performance in customer service, crisp, clear video calls, while avoiding the congestion with public wireless networks. The time to market and operational efficiencies was really quick, and they got the agility and scalability to launch future connected use cases like touchless engagement, security operations, and asset tracking.
Thank you, Geeta. Truly, Boingo is transforming how airports will be built in future with completely different mobility and cellular experiences. In this case, we were able to use the AWS region with our partners' core network, along with multiple radio networks that were integrated into this core network, leveraging the AWS region and the local zone. Within weeks, we had the entire platform up and running, integrated across multiple RANs and applications that were able to provide new and unique experiences for the travelers, all the way from video kiosks, Wi Fi offload for congestion management, as well as sensor networks.
In another use case, we are deploying 4G and 5G private LTE network in Carnegie Mellon in partnership with GMA Wireless and Crown Castle Tower Company. This is for the university researchers to build new edge experiences such as gaming, AR, VR, digital signage, and better connectivity at the campus. Robin is going to talk about how we brought this whole solution together.
Thank you, Geeta. This is where we were working with the Carnegie Mellon team, and we were able to accelerate their deployment, working closely with the JMA Wireless Crown Castle team to build out this 3 square mile network, which has both indoor as well as outdoor coverage. On the same platform where we are deploying 4G, 5G NSA in future, as well as 5G SA as we go along, and create new experiences for the researchers and with the researchers for AR, VR, as well as gaming.
In another use case, we worked closely with Intel and Athonet to close the digital divide in an underserved community through providing broadband access for remote learning. As part of Intel's $50 million pandemic response technology initiative, Intel, AWS, and Meg Computing worked together to deploy a citizens broadband radio service, private network solution that covered 3/4 mile area to provide ultra high-speed broadband access as an essential service for the underserved community in Sacramento. This enabled multiple use cases like remote learning and video analytics at the edge. Now, why does this matter? According to US Census, 4.4 million households and students still lack consistent access to a computer, and 3.7 million lack internet access. As a solution, private CBRS networks are gaining momentum as a bridging strategy to 5G and have created an inflection point in the wireless technology.
Completely agree. Digital divide is an important problem to solve, and this is an area where we partner closely with Intel and the Athonet team, and were able to spin up this network very, very quickly. We used AWS Snowball Edge. This was an environment that did not have anything close to a data center conditions that we were deploying this network on. And it's a heartwarming story where kids that were sitting outside and around a Wi-Fi van to do their homework required connectivity, which was suboptimal when we started. Within 12 weeks, when we deployed this network, we were able to improve the performance of this network by 10x compared to what the kids were experiencing before, and provide a cost of subscriber better by around 45%. This was all achieved leveraging the AWS Snow platform as well as our regional infrastructure. And now we are integrating this same experience into the local zone as well. This is where we were able to make a huge impact and truly bridge the digital divide.
Next use case is smart warehouse deployment, where we're working with Federated Wireless, Cisco, and GMA Wireless to set up an entire warehouse with the Department of Defense to deploy a military-grade network in Albany, Georgia, leveraging Open Radio Access Network, virtualized 5G packet core, and 3.5 gigahertz CBRS shared. This initiative will support multiple applications like sensor networks, autonomous robots, and closed-loop machine controls. The benefit to Department of Justice was cost savings in doing so versus the alternative of deploying a fully wired fiber network.
Federated Wireless is definitely a partner that is highly innovative, has worked closely with us ever since they built their SaaS platform completely on AWS. And in this project, we were able to work with them and Cisco and GMA Wireless team to create a network that really had military grade requirements. Here, we use the AWS region along with AWS snow cones to provide the IoT functionality as well as IoT greengrass for local breakout. 90 plus percent of our roadmap is built using direct feedback from our customers. We have been inventing within the edge domain for the last 5 years. We started working in 2016 with customers like Maersk and Rio Tinto that wanted to extend the AWS IoT platform to the edge of the network. And we created a service called Greengrass that does exactly that for them. Then our customers wanted the next year to extend the network functions to the edge of the 5G network, and we work with them to create outposts that allows for network functions on the 4G and 5G network on the same software delivery pipeline to be deployed on outposts. We're talking ubiquitously extending the AWS platform to the edge of the network. We went on to develop other services like Snowball, Edge, and Snowcone for customers who require ruggedized non-data center environments where they are deploying edge platforms for completely disconnected from the cloud mode that they wanted to use for the experiences that they are creating. We also went on in 2019 to create a platform called Wavelength that allows for customers to deploy low latency applications at the edge of the 5G network as and when they need them. Talk about creating low latency AR, VR applications, gaming applications, customers like Riot Games, customers like GroupView, and others have been able to completely reimagine the experiences they provide to the customers, leveraging Verizon, KDDI, SKT, and Vodafone networks, and leveraging AWS Wavelength within the 5G networks. And we've not stopped there. We've continued to listen to our customers and iterated on many edge services that we have with the common tenets of making sure that the developer ecosystem that we have can use the edge just like they have used the AWS platform for the last 15 years.
Now, how do you get started? Robin is going to show you how you can deploy AWS Edge solutions in your public and private 5G and 4G networks.
Thank you, Geeta. So let's talk about how do we get started. The very first step in building a private network is identifying your use case, the problem you're trying to solve. Each private network that you have will require 7 different components. You have a core, you have a spectrum manager, you have element managers that manage the network, you have your radio, your applications, and your SIM management. All of these need to be well thought through when you're planning your end-to-end network. As part of this, like I said before, choose the right service for the right application. If it's an indoor network or an outdoor network, which is not in a data center environment, look at local zone, look at your Snow family of products. If it's a data center environment that you're deploying the edge applications, which need to be extended from the AWS platform, look at Outposts, look at wavelength zones. Here in this architecture diagram, a basic architecture of a network that we are deploying in a venue, for example, the casino here, would require a VPC in the cloud that allows us to deploy the core network control plane, the spectrum access manager, as well as the user plane of that network at the edge on one of the edge selected edge platforms. Along with this, you will have virtualized firewalls. You will also require different applications to be deployed on this edge platform. Now, if this is an area which is not in a yard, you can use a Snow. But if it is an area where you are deploying this in a fiber network connection where the fiber network is well connected, then you can use a local zone and you don't need any infrastructure on-prem except for the radios that you are deploying. This changes the way we deploy networks, both for 4G and 5G. And remember, on this network, you can extend both your from 4G to 5G NSA and 5G SA on the same software delivery pipeline. Next step, you would be integrating this network on an IPX or a Morgan gateway or by eSIM-based integration with one of your roaming partners. It can be Cineverse if you're going with IPX-based integration, or it could be one of the other partners for Morgan or eSIM. Depending on what your need is, not all of the networks will require roaming integration. So think about that as well as you're planning your build out of the network. And once you have done this, you will look at applications And the great thing is you can go to AWS Marketplace and select from one of the 10,000 applications on Marketplace across 50 categories and deploy these applications very, very quickly. This is how you can bring the entire experience of building an edge network, which would used to take months, at times several months, to few weeks, if not days. And with that, let me introduce Ruza Sabanovic, the CTO of Telenor, who will tell us how the Telenor team has used AWS Edge services to deploy completely transformational edge networks in weeks, not in months, not in several months, using the same services that we spoke to you about. Rusa, over to you.
So hello everyone, and it's a privilege to be today with all of you. I'm Ruža Šabanović, and I come from Telenor. It's a global digital service provider operator operating in 9 markets in Asia and Europe, and with the sole purpose to connect all of you to what matters the most, and at the same time empowering the societies. During this session and my time spent with you, what is the most important and what is the purpose of our existence is to deliver the robust, secure, reliable, and relevant services to our 188 million subscribers in our portfolio. And all of that is operated by more than 109,000 base stations or towers. And what we are very proud of, more than 90% of our data traffic is basically delivered from the Telenor hybrid cloud. And as I already said, it is in 9 markets. So for us, be it the leader or be it the challenger, number 2 or number 3 position in our market, what matters the most is that we are the one that lead the way when it comes to the modernization on both our operating and the business model, and that we pave the way and challenge the industry, and at the same time set the industry standard that will lead the telecommunication towards the digital telco that we aspire to become. So to become a digital telco, Telenor has embarked on the cloud journey a decade ago. And we have had the cloud-first strategy. And touch-free operation is our ambition to achieve by the year 2023. In that journey, AWS has been our very reliable and trusted partner. And in that journey, we have basically leveraged the services and the infrastructure of AWS to deliver those services to our customers. So just some examples to talk about. It is the full, basically, cloud-native digitalization on the business support system when it comes to the consumer, where we were able to transform the traditional business support system into the fully agile DevOps system and move from the traditional waterfall into the service and microservice model. What enabled that is to deliver to our customers not only the relevant services, but as well secured and trusted services in a much shorter period of time. So something what was taking months was taking now hours to deliver to our customers. The other examples that we believe both of us, AWS and Telenor, are proud of is the Workgroup 2. It's basically the development and establishment done by Telenor and now operating jointly with Cisco in the joint venture setup called Workgroup 2 that delivers the core telco cloud capabilities as a service. We believe, if not the first, among the first in the industry to deliver that to our customers. And what is really important is that all the capabilities, both when it comes to the infrastructure, but as well other toolings and analytics are being leveraged from the AWS platform. And the third example that we would like to share today is basically delivering the platform that serves more than 100 million IDs across the Telenor and beyond the Telenor in telco industry portfolio. It's again platform developed 10 years ago or started to be developed by Telenor. Leveraging the AWS capabilities, both infrastructure and the product as a service, and making it scalable, robust, making it secure, and more importantly, continuously working on developing those products and services throughout all those years. And standing up when it comes to delivering the direct operate billing, I mentioned the IDs, more than 100 million subscribers are served from that platform, as well as some mobile data plans and different telco service offering on the top. That journey of the very strong collaboration and partnering with AWS continues. So offering just the public services is one of the many areas where we find a common interest and working together. And we are operating and providing those services in one of our fighter brand in Sweden, and it is the growing market segment portfolio, which definitely contributes to the success of Telenor. There are many other examples where we jointly basically are going to the market and addressing the industrialization of many other industries, where we create the platform for the digitalization and enable other industries to modernize and transform their way of work. Some examples are, for example, the ports that we did in Asia, where the demand from our customers, our partners, the port and the authorities' requirement was to improve the efficiency and security of the personnel. So it's basically installing, operating, and further managing the high-resolution cameras that are installed on the crans that are managing the on- and offloading of the containers from the ships. And at the same time, basically managing that the whole operation is done with a very high security standards. So in case some of us are in the danger zone, we would be notified immediately by our SMS or some call from the mobile phone. But that journey is not only touching about the industry, but as well very critical and high demanding customers, like, for example, the military forces in Norway, where we jointly delivered the edge capabilities as a part of the private network on the wheel. So it is as well one of the examples where we were in the weeks able to deliver that capability that is fully autonomous and automated, and more importantly, it can be moved from one location to another. So those are just some of the examples where this very strong collaboration and journey with AWS is enabling, we believe, both AWS and Telenor to demonstrate the capabilities, the strengths, and drive the modernization and customer experience to the industries and our customers. But what we believe is very important going forward is that we, building on our strengths, not only contribute to each other's wins and successes, but as well that we strongly are in position to influence the industry and further standards. All of those use cases that we have tested and are working together are saying that even though they're different, we believe there are a lot of building blocks that are common, like a mobile connectivity, edge environment, or we can talk about the analytics, like we saw in the port on the video analytics, or security. And we believe that all of those building blocks should be industrialized so that it scales. It basically enables the secure, robust, and relevant services that can be delivered to the customer much faster and in much more trusted way. What brings us together is as well the trusted advisor approach and position that both of us are taking towards the customer. And that trust, of course, needs to be deserved and maintained. So it's very important, and we believe that that is common with both AWS and Telenor to deliver the solution that is relevant, that is robust, secured, at the same time that we are basically delivering a good quality and continuously working on improving that quality for both our customers and our delivery system. And we need to acknowledge that the ecosystem and the customer demands are continuously changing. So the ability to adjust and adopt the solution and the service delivery as well is the key. And that's what we have demonstrated in the past with the scalable and very flexible building blocks and elements that we have developed and worked together. We are able to deliver that as well. And what is very important is we know that the maturity of different solutions, and including technology, as well as the customer understanding of their needs, is continuous process. So rather than waiting for the best solution to be deployed, our approach is that we work with the customer and basically learn by doing it. And that's as well a very important, we would say, connecting point between those two companies, AWS and Telenor. In Telenor, we do not believe that there is one single company that can deliver everything on its own. That's why we are a strong believer of partnering and working with and for the ecosystem. And that's where we find the common between AWS and Telenor, inbuilt in our growth culture and mindset, in our strong desire to lead the modernization in every market where we are, and fully understanding that modernization is the journey of the continuous improvement and adjusting to the customer needs and demand, and doing all of that in the responsible way. That's why we find this partnership and collaboration fitting very well, and where 1 + 1 is equal 11. Thank you.
In summary, today, we reviewed AWS Edge solutions that are purpose-built for our customers' use cases. We showed that they are operationally efficient, automated, and simple to deploy to get to revenue faster. At AWS, we look forward to working with you to accelerate your business value by reinventing communications and driving innovation at the edge together. Thank you for joining our multi-access edge computing session today.